What is up? 30 minutes late. Welcome to week one of the Massillon Fantasy League. I called Dan out in the chat. Everybody knows it's your fault, Dan. You don't got to worry about it. So that busy dad life.
Sorry.
It's good. The busy dad life, I'm sure, causing the problems tonight. I'm not going to call it problems, but definitely threw off the schedule just a little bit. Dan, are you ready to kick this season off? It's been a quiet preseason for the Massillon Fantasy League. We didn't get to do any of our weekly or our preseason preview shows. I think we're going to try to cram everything in here tonight. We'll talk about some of the teams we like to make the playoffs, some of the teams we like to win the championship, and then of course we'll break down the week one matchups. How'd you feel coming out of your draft, Dan?
Felt decent about it. Didn't love some of it. To be honest, I feel like I kind of panicked with my Brandon Ayuk pick. I didn't love any of the options there. I wanted to take Javonte Williams, which I know he had a big game last night.
Yeah.
But I didn't feel I had him on my team before, and I just had that bad taste in my mouth. I just couldn't pull the trigger on him. And I felt like Ayuk, and when he gets healthy down the road, could still be a number one receiver with Debo not there anymore.
Yeah, obviously I've done a lot of drafts. Ayuk is a guy I feel very similarly to you about, and Javonte Williams, I had the same thoughts too. I'm not going to get all excited about week one of Javonte Williams. So.
I agree. If he went for like 15 carries, $110, I'd feel a lot worse about it. But he had 15 carries for 54 yards, just had all his points on 2 touchdowns.
Plus that Jaden Blue kid that they didn't even play. I don't know if he was a healthy scratch, but I know he was marked out. So there's a lot of things that could reverse and not go in Javonte's favor. So Dan, I was figuring we'll get this thing started at the beginning of the show with our, I guess, power rankings. We're obviously not going to break down every team the way we do, or we'll be here for 3 hours. But I feel like there's some pretty clear lines of delineation. So Dan, I don't know if you had a chance to kind of look over and rank the league. I have it as a bottom 3 teams. Were you able to look at it in any way, shape, or form like that?
Yeah, I looked at it as, and this is kind of how I broke mine down. There's one team at the bottom. There's a handful of teams that are like one guy short. And then I think there's a bunch of teams that are all about the same.
I think we're pretty similar. Let's get the elephant out of the room. Greg, what the fuck, man? What the fuck, man? If you're going to go on auto, apparently set a queue, or did he have a queue of defensive players? Taylor thinks, I'm not going to call it Sleeper's fault, but Taylor thinks that Sleeper just had bumped up all of the defensive players, so all of his auto picks were defensive players. It clearly put him behind the 8 ball. I hated his keepers to begin with. Greg, I hope you win a game this year. I don't want you to be the next Dave Woods who went 0-13 in the first ever year of the Massillon Fantasy League. You could be our first 0-14 team, Dan. I'll tell you right now, I projected him at 0 wins. The way I do my little projections, he was so far below everyone in this league. I'm ready to be wrong, but it's ugly. So I don't know if you want to spend any more time on that team. We try not to be dicks on this show. I'm not just going to sit here and pick on the guy. So
here's the thing. We did this exact same show with the exact same start last year.
Yeah, because he had that wild ass draft last year where he had someone else
kickers and defense. He kept drafting kickers and IDPs, and we roasted him and said he was the worst team in the league's history.
And he made the playoffs.
Exactly. So I mean, I hope he does.
At one point, wasn't he one of our last undefeated teams? So maybe we should just shut the fuck up because we clearly don't know what we're talking about. Dan, who are the teams that you have? How'd you call it? A handful of teams that were a player away. Who do you have down there?
Some teams that stuck out to me. I think Terry. Terry has some good players on his team. I love his running backs. Quarterback's great, but I feel like he's Kittle. Yeah, I think he's a player or 2 away. I don't trust Waddle. I don't trust Pittman.
I have Terry in the playoffs.
I'm waiting for you to
I have Terry in the playoffs. I like his team.
And that's how that goes usually.
Yep, exactly.
I have myself there. I think I'm a player or 2 short.
I have you in the playoffs.
I mean, I like my team, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
Like I think I have some depth at receiver. I have Burrow. I think I have some good running backs, but I think I'm another running back short.
Yeah.
In reality, that's where I think I follow.
Well, I'll throw 2 teams under the bus real quick. Mouse Rat lost in the sauce. Eric and JR not feeling those teams. They have some studs at some certain positions, but they have other things that are kind of dragging them down elsewhere. JR's team, I'm going to actually go and grab it for my own credit here for a second. I was really unimpressed. It's starting Jordan Mason. I'm not a believer in Jordan Mason. I don't know how I feel about Ricky Pearsall in the flex. And then when you look at his bench, you would hope that there'd be someone who could step up. Now, Hollywood Brown, if this injury to Xavier Worthy, I don't know if you had a chance to see it, Dan. I know you were crazy busy tonight. Xavier Worthy got rocked by Travis Kelce on the first drive of the game, went out with possibly a separated shoulder. Hopefully it's nothing serious, but it could be. So I could be eating my words here, but just was not feeling when it came down to the position by position. And I don't go and look at the schedule, was not feeling Eric's team, was not feeling JR's team.
Yeah. I don't feel them. I don't feel Rob either. I think
Rob is in my next group because I have it in 3 groups. I have it as not making the playoffs, fighting for the playoffs, and in the playoffs. So
yeah. I think that I have 4 teams that are just not in the playoffs. And I think that the other 10 are fighting for very similar spots. I feel like this is the most parity when you look at everybody's rosters that this league has ever had. I feel like everybody has good starters and nobody has any depth.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I had a lot of trouble giving people good depth scores when I was doing my little rankings. So Dan, to me, the middle group, I have 7 teams that are in the playoffs, and clearly it can't happen that way. So the teams that I have that I just don't think have it, and these, I guess you used a great term, a player away. I have all the old team names on here. I know a lot have changed their team names already, but Kenny, Darren, Rob, and Phil, I have a player away. If they make the right trade, or if I'm wrong about one of their players, I have them a player away. And it sounds to me like you and I kind of are in agreement there. So I think it's time to move to the top. And obviously there's already some disagreement. As I mentioned, I have 7 teams, Dan, that I think deserve to be in the playoffs. You, Terry, and Horvath, I had basically tied, but I gave the edge, first of all, to you, because I tend to give the edge to quarterback. But you also have, and I think we need to spend a little time on this, who I feel to be the biggest cheat code in Massillon Fantasy League history. And obviously he's never played a fucking down yet. But with your first pick of Travis Hunter, I personally feel in leagues like ours, 1 IDP, possibly 3 IDP leagues, Travis Hunter could legitimately, for the next 2 years, because I don't think he can do it for too long, change fantasy football. When I did my projections for our league scoring, Travis Hunter was like the wide receiver 30. When I throw in mediocre defensive projections, he jumps up to the wide receiver 3, and he gives you the ability to play that in an IDP spot. And so, Dan, just to give you guys a little of how I do my thing, I lump IDP, defense, and kicker together as a defense and special teams. I only let that be weighted for up to 5 points. Dan, I gave you 6 points because I think that's what Travis Hunter does. You got more points than what I would allow in that category.
And I hope it works out that way. I mean, I drafted him for that reason. Had a lot of trade offers for that number 1 pick. I didn't want to give it up for that reason of having him and what he could potentially be.
Yep, and that's what I did. And then Terry gets the Josh Allen bump, and it's Horvath has a great team. Obviously, 2 of the best wide receivers in football. We saw a great game from CeeDee Lamb. Could have been a greater game from CeeDee Lamb. I'm sure Horvath is lamenting that. But JJ McCarthy is just not it for me, Dan.
I agree. That's his biggest downfall. And I'm someone who's invested in JJ and other like dynasty leagues. So I believe in him and I hope he can be good. I need him to be good. He has the receivers to be good.
Yeah.
But he didn't take that job and run with it last year. It doesn't sound like he's taking it and run with it this year. The Giants were consistently looking for a backup quarterback in case he doesn't, which doesn't sound – I'm sorry, the Vikings.
Yeah.
It doesn't sound like it's that they're convinced of it. If they're not convinced, I'm not convinced.
Yep. And then I guess let's start with it, Dan. Who do you have as the best teams in the league?
I think the Steves. I have Horvath up there even with because I think the rest of his lineup is just so good, and I think JJ with those weapons, that combo of him and Justin Jefferson. If
yeah, it gets stack points. Horvath says have faith. He's all about some JJ McCarthy clearly.
So I have Steves, and I have you and Taylor as my top 4.
we're in the same boat outside of Horvath. Now, what's interesting is Horvath could be in my top 4 because, again, I said you guys are all tied. I have a top 3, and it's my family. If I'm picking a champion right now, when I'm looking for the most complete lineup, if I'm not going to focus on depth, because I think me and Taylor both have the depth over him, but I think the best lineup, certainly at running back and wide receiver, is going to be Little Stevie, and I'm going to call him my champion on today's episode.
I'm not ready to call him my champion. I don't like Shakur. I don't trust Baker 100%.
Yeah.
I don't. If I'm going to have to call for a champion today,
you have to. That's how this episode goes, man.
Then I'm going to go. I'm going to go Horvath.
Oh, whoa.
I am.
That's a turn from me shitting on JJ McCarthy to you calling him your champion. So it's a battle of the Steves.
I think Steve makes a move and gets a quarterback.
Okay. I guess the real question is, Dan, I mean, there's obviously some people out there who have quarterbacks to move. But it's just who's going to be looking to move what and what kind of players are going to take to move Steve over the edge.
Now, I know Justin Herbert's having a good night tonight. I mean, do you trust him 100%?
Yeah, I was bigly bought into Justin Herbert when this season started. It's obviously looking really, really well in week 1. He was QB 12, I think, in standard leagues last year, and I thought he was going to take a step forward, and so far I'm looking right. But again, I'm not going to buy too much into week 1.
How many touchdown passes has he averaged the last 3 years?
Something like 21, something, yeah. if that. So.
To me, for you to win a championship, I think he needs to take more than a little. So I need to take a big step forward in that.
Yeah.
And just that the Harbaugh loves to run the ball. I just don't know that he can take that huge step.
Now, I watched the game before we got on here. I wanted to see if it carried over. It really didn't. I was going to see because Herbert ran for a big run when the game started, but he still only has 17 rushing yards because that could be another aspect to his game, but it doesn't look like that's going to be a thing. But that's why I did not crown myself champion as well. I have, honestly, of all the playoff teams, of my top 7, I have Horvath as the worst quarterback, and then I have myself as the second worst quarterback. And then the other thing I had to do, I had to bump down AJ Brown because I don't want to overreact after one game, and we'll talk about week 1 here in a moment. But if that's the Eagles offense, Dan, I had myself as great wide receivers, and I all of a sudden feel far less confident in my wide receivers.
Let me say this. I mean, you think back to last year. AJ Brown had games he disappeared.
Yep.
Him reading the book on the sideline. So I don't think this is – I'm not going to overreact to it. I think he's going to have other games like this, but he's going to have other games that are AJ Brown games.
Well, I'll tell you right now, I shouldn't have kept him. That's what it really comes down to. I should have pushed harder. I wanted Marvin Harrison Jr. Couldn't get Rob P to budge off of Marvin Harrison. He liked the trade with AJ Brown. He accepted that trade, and maybe I should have just kept Tyreek Hill and kept my draft pick. And I don't know. I'm having buyer's remorse, Dan. It's not looking great for me.
Yeah, I was shocked when I saw you make that move. To be honest with you, I was pretty surprised to see you go after him.
Lot of smoke around Tyreek Hill. 31 years old, wasn't going to be able to keep him for longer. I knew Rob P was in a spot where he said he didn't even see the MHJ trade. I sent you both of them at the same time, bro. The exact same trade. I just didn't know who you would want to move off of. But anyway, I wanted someone who I could potentially keep, Dan. Christian McCaffrey, and we'll talk about that when we get to week 1. Christian McCaffrey is red flag after red flag, and I need to be able to have keepers. AJ Brown, I thought, gave me the ability to at least hold on to him for 2 more years, whereas Tyreek Hill, this has to be the last year of his keeperdom and fantasy relevance. He fell to almost the end of our first round, which tells me that he's not really a keeper anymore.
Yeah, I get that. I think if you're going to make a trade for a receiver, I think you should just pay whatever you had to pay to get Harrison.
Yeah, I sent the same trade. Like I said, you're absolutely. He said he saw I wanted Brown and just went with that. So that's my own fault. That's why you don't shotgun trade sometimes. Maybe if I should have started with Harrison and worked my way to Brown, a lesson learned. So there it is. We're for the season preview. We've each picked a Steve as our champion. I'm going with my cousin, Steve Weiss, Sun God Squad, for those out there who don't know the team names. And after talking shit about his quarterback, Dan picks Grimy Savages, Steve Horvath, as his champion. Dan, let's move on.
I don't want to say I was talking smack about his core. I believe in him. I think that's his weakest link. I think he needs to improve it to win a championship. But I think his overall team is going to be really hard to beat.
Yeah. Like I said, it's hard to go against his wide receivers. And we said that same thing last year, and it worked out pretty well for him last year. The luck actually didn't work against him. Dan, I just picked the games in order as they show on my screen. I'm sure your screen puts your team on top, but I'm just going to do it like this because it's easiest just to scroll down. I did all of my projections before this Friday night game started. So we'll start with that. And Dan, I'll start with my own game. It's me versus Darren. And for folks who do not remember, whoever you play in week 1 is also who you play in week 14. I was really hoping Sleeper would not give us the same schedule as last year, and it didn't, because it was me versus Eric in the first game last year. So I'm happy it switched things up a little bit. Dan, when I looked at this matchup, obviously it was after the AJ Brown debacle and things. I wasn't very happy with how everything went down. It was nice to see, because we know defenses can score big points in this league. Darren didn't get a lot of points out of his defense. I believe I was projected to win then. I'm certainly projected to win now. When I looked at this match, I am going to pick myself. Obviously, there were some question marks at running back 1, but I think tight end and flex give me the edge. But Dan, I think if you're up to it, I think we need to talk about Christian McCaffrey. Devon Achane, they've already removed the questionable tag. It sounds like he's good. So now Darren has less questions at RB1. There was a McCaffrey quote today that says, because of what happened with him last year, everybody is overreacting to this year, and he's going to be absolutely fine. I don't believe a word coming out of San Francisco at this point, Dan.
Yeah, I feel like they said the exact same thing last year, that he was going to be fine, he was going to play.
And so that's my biggest worry going into all of this is one of my keepers, certainly my most important player at running back until I find out who Bill is and all the other stuff that's going on. It creates a very worrisome matchup, except for the fact that Justin Herbert is balling out tonight.
This will be a fun matchup to watch. I could see this game going either way. If you're wrong about the Minnesota running back situation and Aaron Jones,
if I'm wrong about the Minnesota running back situation, I'm an asshole, because I'm sitting here picking on JR's team and I'm starting Aaron Jones. So it's going to look real, real bad for me.
But that being said, him starting Kyle Pitts, who I have zero faith in.
Yep.
Jacoby Myers, who's put in a trade request.
Yep.
I'm going to go with your team to win off of tight end and the slot there. I think that's going to be the difference in the game this week.
Well, apparently it just came out. I'm noticing as I'm looking at Darren's team, Tyler Bass went to IR today.
And Herbert just threw another touchdown.
What's that?
Herbert just threw another touchdown.
Oh, he did, didn't he? That would be 300 yards and 3 touchdowns. That's a bonus and another touchdown. I'll take it, baby.
Like I said, I expect you to win this week.
Yeah. A little bit easier, especially if that touchdown was not to Ladd McConkey, and it wasn't. So, yeah, I think we could both pick me and safely move on. Dan, that brings us to, I believe it is Little Stevie and Eric, Sun God Squad and Mouse Rat. And I'll let you get us started on this one.
I think Stevie blows him out of the water.
Really? I had it closer than a blowout, but I agree with the Stevie win.
I mean, I like Stevie's team. I think it's a good team. I don't know. I don't like some of the matchups. I don't like Tucker Kraft at tight end. You just don't know what you're going to get there. I mean, you and I have had discussion earlier this year. I'm not a Javonte Williams fan.
Yeah.
I don't expect big things from him. I think Trey Hendrickson could go off.
Oh, you mean Jameson Williams? I'm like, Javonte Williams is not in this matchup.
Yeah, I meant Jameson Williams. But I think Trey Hendrickson could go off against that Browns offensive line for the Bengals. But overall,
did he miss a lot of time in camp? I knew there was the whole contract thing.
He did miss a lot of time in camp, but it's not like he's a rookie.
That's true.
Honestly, at his age and his skill set, I'm perfectly fine as a Bengals fan, him missing camp and not risking an injury. I know he has in the past had back issues, so I'm all for it.
Yeah, I have it closer than you, Dan. I'll be honest. I actually said in my notes that the offenses cancel each other out for me, and I gave Stevie the win based on the Denver defense is my number one defense this season, and they are my number one defense this week, taking on a rookie quarterback in Denver. but I had this way closer. And then when you look, sleeper is definitely on your side. I did not look at the sleeper projections when I did any of my stuff, Dan. Sleeper is on your side, calling this like a 31 point blowout, a 32 point blowout. So you're probably far more correct here than I am.
Well, I think those sleeper projections also weighed in now that Pacheco's had an awful game and Worthy's got hurt and didn't get any points. So
and the zero, or no, that was the last matchup with the kicker. Never mind. Yeah, so yeah, you're absolutely right. It does weigh that in there. So yeah, it's the bad game from Pacheco and all that. We got Taylor taking on Rob. Dan, I'll let you get us started on this one as well.
Taylor taking on Rob. Like I said earlier, I'm not a big believer in Rob's team. I know Williams had a big opening night. I like Rob's receivers.
And that is the only player who has played in these matchups.
I like Rob's receivers. I want to believe in Harrison, but I did expect a lot more of him last year and just didn't see it. I do still have faith in him. I think that was a great pick by Taylor. Yeah. If I had those same picks in the draft, I would have taken the same two players in the first round that he did. But I'm going to take Taylor to get the win just on the rest of the team. I love Henderson at running back. I think he's going to have a huge game. I mean, you have Jaden Daniels. I don't trust Kyler Murray at all.
I think I would be more on your side if it wasn't for Kyler Murray getting to play the Saints, and I think the Saints are going to be a dumpster fire. It feels like a close matchup, but I actually like Motz's team. I think his wide receivers are better, and then I think that game that he already got out of Javonte Williams in the books. The way I'm wrong here is what you just hit on, and that is Jaden Daniels absolutely going off and Kyler Murray struggling. But if Kyler Murray struggles, do we also see a bad game out of Marvin Harrison?
But I think when you look at like the tight end matchup and the flex matchup, that goes Taylor's way pretty large.
See, and this is where you and I would disagree. I'll agree flex wholeheartedly. I love Hunter Henry. Hunter Henry is actually the stream of the week tight end for me over on Club Fantasy. I do think in a full PPR like we are, Njoku has an edge, but I think Henry could easily score a touchdown and slow that down a little bit as well. So
it's possible. I'm just not a believer.
Let's jump over to Terry and Phil. Phil said earlier, Dan, he was ready for you to talk about how much you didn't like his team. We didn't do a whole lot of that at the beginning of the show. Maybe we'll do it now. Dan, when I went through my projections here, this is another one where it's a dead even matchup. This one, it was even all the way down to the defenses. And when I have that situation, I always pick the better quarterback. And just like I did for the playoffs to get Terry in, I'm picking Terry to win this matchup. I love Terry's running backs, but he definitely got those running backs at the paying of his wide receivers. Because while I love Henry and Genty, going into a season with Waddle and Cooper Kupp as your 1 and 2 just doesn't feel very comfortable to me. I think Terry pulls a win out this week. I don't know how well that's going to play out for him in the season. What a tight end matchup here, though.
Great tight end matchup. I'm not going to crap on Phil's team. I think he's one of those middle of the road teams. He's like a player or two away.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I can look at Terry's team. I don't love Pittman. I don't love Waddle. I'm going to take Phil to get this win. But if Jordan Love comes out flat like he did last year, Terry will end up with the win.
Yeah, because so we're kind of saying the same thing. You're just expecting a little bit better out of Love, whereas I'm giving the edge to Josh Allen. I think we're mostly on the same page with that matchup.
Going into last season, I expected a lot out of Love. So just because he had one down year, I'm not going to completely give up on him. I think he's still there. I think he can still do it. So I'm going to actually take Phil to get this win.
All right. Dan, I'll let you get us started. We got Rob P versus JR. The sleeper projection has Rob P winning this one by 10 points right now. Looks like Patrick Mahomes still having a pretty decent game. Had that rushing touchdown. He's actually doing almost better on the ground than he is through the air. But other than that, Pickens not a great game. And Rob P does not have an IDP in yet and is still projected to get that win by 10 points.
I'm going to take Rob to get the win. I don't love JR's team. I've never been a George Pickens fan. We talked earlier. We don't love Mason. So I'm going to go with Rob to get the win. I think that Rob has built a solid team. but I don't love it like I did last year's team for him.
Yeah, he had those draft picks stacked last year. It worked out really well for him.
I agree. I just don't think, and I think he has probably more depth than anybody else in the league. I like it. I like what he has on the bench with Addison, with Warren, with Reed. If Junkins ever signs, he has potential there on his bench to have more depth than other teams. The problem is just I don't love McMillan. I don't trust the Carolina quarterback situation. I don't trust DK Metcalf. I think him and Aaron Rodgers are actually going to fist fight at some point this season. I think Aaron Rodgers is hot garbage.
Yeah, I think that's
James
fair.
Conner has openly said he expects to get less touches this year. So I think there's just some question marks there. I don't think James Conner's going to come out and give him 2 points, but I don't think he's going to come out and have the season he had last year.
I agree for the season. I love James Conner this week. Again, I think Arizona could beat up on a bad New Orleans team. So that's of my narrative. So
I think the Saints are trying to lose. I don't think they're trying to win on any level.
Well, they're certainly not tanking for Arch Manning anymore. That was borderline disgraceful last week.
So I'm gonna take Rob to get the win though.
I'm with you wholeheartedly. I love Rob Peace team at every position. JR is not one of my favorite teams in the league this year. This would have been the blowout of the week if not for the next matchup. Right now, Sleeper has this projected to be a 36-point blowout. Dan, I joked. Is it a joke? That I think this could make a run at being the worst beating in league history, which I believe currently sits at 121 points. Horvath's team is just better at every position. I did do this before he picked up Cam Scatabo, but I'm not a big Cam Scatabo guy. Literally, Horvath, when you don't look at JJ McCarthy, when I cut the head off of this and we go Bucky Irving, James Cook, Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb, Mark Andrews, T. Higgins as his starters not named quarterback, how did I not pick this guy to be my champion? What a fucking team this is.
That's why I did pick him to be the champion.
Exactly.
Horvath's going to make a move. If McCarthy's not getting the job done, he's not afraid to go make a move to get the guy to put him over the top.
You're not wrong. And Horvath is a traitor, and I think that plays to his benefit that Horvath will make the move. Certainly. I guess my only concern is, and again, when your team is this good, does it matter? But if JJ McCarthy ain't it, does that give us any pause on Justin Jefferson?
We've seen a lot of good receivers have really good years with subpar quarterback.
Yeah.
So do I think that can limit his ceiling? Sure. Do I think that makes him drop out of the top 10 wide receivers in fantasy? No, I don't.
Yeah, and he survived, what was it, Josh Dobbs and some other pretty piss poor quarterbacks up there in Minnesota. You would have to think JJ McCarthy is going to be better than that, right?
You would think, but he has come from Michigan, you know.
I mean, he hasn't thrown a ball in 4 years because they didn't let him do that in Michigan. So who knows the last time this kid actually had the game on his shoulders. And Dan, your rival this year is the defending champion, Comeback Kids, Kenny Edelman. Right now, Sleeper has this as a dead even matchup. However, Dan, you still have roster spots to fill. 2, in fact, which spells disaster for Kenny if it is a dead even matchup and you still have to fill 2 roster spots. So Marion Hampton has been average as can be so far in this game as we are 2 minutes away from that game being over. Marion Hampton sitting at 47 yards, 13 receiving, 2 catches. He has 5.7 fantasy points, and 2 of those fantasy points are off of his receptions. Obviously, not a great look for Kenny. I'll get us started. I'll let you finish it up. I'm obviously picking you to win. But this is where I wanted to talk. Your QB advantage here with Joe Burrow is fantastic. Burrow, I think if he isn't my QB1, he's close to my QB1 for the week. But I've talked about this already. Your Travis Hunter advantage, it's going to be hard for me not to continually pick you for most games this season because of the advantage that Travis Hunter provides you, as long as your other receivers or someone in your flex steps up. Travis Hunter is the advantage if you get to plug him in IDP because of how well your offensive players are performing. If you have an offensive guy that is barely outscoring an IDP, it all kind of cancels out. Again, I think you have a top 5 wide receiver in this kid, and I hope I'm right. JR is tough at running back. Obviously, he has Jamar Chase. He's going to need them to carry his team every single week, and it's going to be a nice one for him this week, but it doesn't help that for everything for his best player to go right, one of your best players also goes right, and that's why I'm picking you to win this one.
Yeah, I'm picking myself to win as well. I'm not a Hampton fan. I don't love Kenny's team and where he's at. I mean, you can clearly tell where Kenny's head is at. He's already talking to Max. He can't tank. So he can look at this team and see that he should be tanking with how bad his team is.
With all that shit that was going on, and I didn't get to dive into it as much as I should, I never once considered that Kenny's mad he can't tank. I never once had that pass through my head, but that is quite hilarious.
I mean, that's just what I'm assuming. I'm assuming he's mad he can't tank.
Kenny's the reason for this rule. Kenny was the guy who didn't set a lineup and got me all pissed. And I think it was that he didn't set a lineup against me. And so it was going to benefit me. But I'm like, this can't happen. Kenny, this could be called the Kenny rule.
I like it for forever. You called the Kenny rule. Well, he's about to do it again. He wins the championship. It's not like a championship roster. I don't know. I don't see any way outside of someone just going absolutely bananas for his team that he can pull off the win this week.
Yeah,
or my team just laying a complete egg.
And what's funny, Dan, is that's kind of how I feel about him this season as well. Is he needs to go nut. His running backs and his Jamar Chase have to go nuts, and we saw that a lot last year. Obviously, Jamar Chase was fucking electric last year. He's going to need that again this year.
We're going to need that and some help from Stroud to get back. He needs Stroud to get back to the way he was. He needs Hampton to just take over that running back job. He has a lot of needs.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartly. Yeah, I was going to say, when I say he needs that, I don't mean he needs that to win a championship again. He needs that to push for the playoffs again. So that wraps up the matchups, Dan. We are largely in agreement. The only 2 matchups that will decide how everybody does this week, or how you and I do this week, is Mott's versus Taylor and Terry versus Phil. The 2 in the middle are our only 2 disagreements. Everything else, we are in lockstep. So I got Mott's and Terry. You got Taylor and Phil. We'll see how that plays out. Dan, we wrap up the show the way we always wrap up the show. It shows 6 people watching right now. 5. It just went down 1. So someone probably tuned in and realized that it was just a show about a specific fantasy league. But let's go ahead and give everybody in the chat a chance. Give me your favorite quarterback. Give me your favorite flex play this week, guys. We'll announce the winner on next week's show. This is based on our league scoring, so the people who would play this game know how that league scoring goes. Dan, I ask, as always, would you like me to go first or second?
Go and go first, sir.
Oh, man, I don't think you're going to be happy with that when this is all said and done. So, quarterback, I have been all over the place. I had Josh Allen as my one for a while. I get a little bit nervous about the Baltimore Baltimore matchup, but still Josh Allen. I wasn't too worried. I decided to go to the other side of the ball, and I'm going to go Lamar Jackson as my quarterback. And Dan, I would be a fool after all the shit I've talked on this show to not pick this guy in his rookie debut. Travis Hunter is my flex option for the first week of the game. I want to see what this kid can do and see if he's the cheat code I think he is.
Interesting. That's nice. I hope it works out for you. I'm going to go same game for quarterback. I'm going to go Josh Allen against Baltimore. I think it'll be a fun game. I think there'll be a lot of scoring in that game.
I had it and I backed it off. I had Jaden Daniels and I backed it off. So I'm with you.
And then for my flex, I'm a little torn on this one. I think
I would say Horvath went Burrow Higgins. He's going with the old stack philosophy. So he's betting on that game and betting on his team.
Interesting. Higgins should have a big game. Ward typically does do well against Chase, and Chase has said Ward's the best corner in the NFL right now. So that should open up some chances for Higgins. I'm gonna say JJ McCarthy has a big game against the Bears. I don't think the Bears defense is very good. I think so. I'm gonna go with Justin Jefferson having a big game with him. So I'm gonna take Josh Allen and Justin Jefferson.
Josh Allen and Justin Jefferson. Taylor, you've given me a quarterback. Are you relying entirely on a quarterback this week? You don't think you need a flex play while I give Taylor time? Mr. Lee back in the chat. No league expansion this year. Everybody is still the same, and he gets his pick in before Taylor gives me the other part of his pick. So we got Lamar and Kamara. I like that because he's kind of hedging against me there because we're both going to have Lamar, but he's going with a much more proven commodity and Alvin Kamara and someone who has done well in this league for years. And then Taylor betting on his own team as well is going to go Jaden Daniels and Marvin Harrison Jr., a couple of sophomores. Dan, 5 people in the game. It's been a while since we've had that many. It'll be real interesting, but everybody falls off.
That's the most we've ever had to go on a show and actually give their predictions. Maybe this is the year we blow up on the show, Ryan.
There you go. It's the year when we're, oh my God, Dan.
We get to like 6-7 watchers, viewers.
We have 7 live right now, but Dan, let me announce this live on air of this show. So for those who don't know, I also run a podcast with a company called Club Fantasy. They've been doing it for 8 years, I think now. I've been in for the last 5. We've picked up steam. We have over 1,000 followers. We typically on a good video get 100 to 200 watches. Last year, I invited Dan on to do a mock draft for our league, 14-team mock draft. And Dan, that draft, you are well aware, hit 7,700 views. This was a podcast that has never had more than 1,000 views on a video. That video hit 7,700. So Dan has been carrying the crown for a year now. Well, I said, Dan, that's your show now. So Dan came back on with me, and we did it again. Dan, that show is at 13,000 views now.
It's just me repeatedly watching it over and over again.
I love it. But 13,000 views on the 14-team mock draft, 14-team keeper mock draft. Dan now has 20,000 YouTube views. If you take Dan's 2 videos away, my show probably doesn't have 20,000 YouTube views in the last 3 years. If we took your 2 videos away. No, it's. I'm being a little facetious. The mock draft shows do very, very well over the summer. Our 8-team, Dan, is still nipping on your ass. It's only it's not even a full 1,000 views below you anymore.
They'll pass. We had a week advance. They'll pass us.
Exactly. But no, Dan, it's been awesome. I appreciate you coming on for that show. And Josh, every time it hits a new milestone, Josh tells me to make sure I tell you about it. But what's hilarious is when Josh sent me that first text to tell me we went over 10,000. It was our first video over 10,000. I wrote, whoa, my phone auto-corrected it to who. And then I sent you the screenshot because he said, tell Dan. And I wrote, who? And I was like, that was not supposed to say who. But I had already sent it to you, and Josh thought that was hilarious too. But no, Dan, it has been a fun summer, and I'm happy to tell you, 13,000 views when I checked this morning. That's just fucking awesome. Guys, that wraps up week 1 of the Massillon Fantasy League. Next week, we will just be breaking down week 2. We will also play the game that we play every week. If you are not one of the 12 people who are in this league, or our buddy Nate who tunes in from, is it Australia? He'll correct me, but I think it is. I think it was Down Under where he tunes in. This is a podcast we do every single week where we are breaking down our home league. It is our 20th year, I believe, in our home league. So, we'll see you guys probably Saturdays from now on. I think Dan said it will normally be a Saturday show, but Friday was the best day for it to do this week. That wraps it up. Dan, parting words for our friends.
Love you guys. Have a great weekend. Go Bengals.
Yeah, as always, I hope 13 of you have a really, well, I guess I'm one of those 13. I hope 12 of you have a really, really nice weekend. Darren, I hope you have the worst weekend ever. And I hope part of that worst weekend is Justin Herbert throwing another touchdown in these last 2 minutes of the game. I haven't taken a look yet. So
I hope it says we drafted on Labor Day weekend.
2 people drafting from the river. But it went as smooth as it could for everybody but Greg. It was not great for Greg. Maybe Greg was on the river too. Guys, we'll see you guys next week. Have a good one.